Welcome to the Heels on Water podcast. This is where we learn to walk on the water in our storms with the courage, confidence, and grace we were designed with. I'm your host, Dr. Alette, and I am glad that you found our boat. So let's put on our heels and get ready to step out on that water. Do you ever get the feeling that you are the character in a TV show or movie? Do you ever get the urge to just look over at camera C and talk to the audience who is watching your life story play out? Well, there may not be an actual camera C, or maybe there is, but in any event, you are the hero of your story. Yes, you. Really. You have a story. We all do, and you are the hero of yours. We've all set out on a journey, whether consciously or unconsciously, which will hopefully end in us defeating the villain and returning as the victor with new knowledge to carry forward. Okay, you're probably wondering what I'm talking about. Did you know that there's a classic template that all successful stories follow? It doesn't matter if it's a movie, book, TV show, or life. By looking at mythological stories from around the world and throughout history, Joseph Campbell mapped out the universal story that all humans live, and it's called it the hero's journey. It can be summarized like this. A hero in heels leaves her common day-to-day for an extraordinary world of adventure and conflict where she gains or discovers strength and power and wins a decisive victory. Then she returns to her world and shares the enlightenment or the elixir she gained in the process. Sometimes the biggest trials are the biggest setups for our biggest success in the future. If you need an example of what I'm describing, let's look at Dorothy and the Wizard of Oz. The journey begins with the call to adventure. Dorothy decides to leave home. She's actually running away. She then refuses the call and tries to go back home. In an unexpected turn of events, she is thrown into the air by a tornado, causing her familiar world to turn upside down. She is dropped into an unknown world of munchkins, witches, and a yellow brick road. When she realizes she won't be able to return home anytime soon, she receives guidance from Glinda, the Good Witch of the North, and borrows confidence from her ruby slippers. After starting down the yellow brick road, Dorothy soon meets her allies, the Scarecrow, the Tin Man, and the Lion. They're metaphors for the brains, heart, and courage she needs to build her authentic self-confidence. But doubt diminishes each of them as Dorothy and her allies make their way to see the wizard to claim their brains, heart, courage, and the way back home. We all know how the story ends. When Dorothy meets the wizard, she realizes that he is not the way home she expected. Instead, her guide, Glinda, shows up to tell her she always had the power inside herself to return home. This hero in heels clicked those pretty heels and was home before she knew it. The Wizard of Oz contains all the main parts of the hero's journey: the call to adventure, the refusal of the call, assistance to accept the call, trials and tribulations, guidance, the emotional reward, and returning home with more wisdom and a desire to share the lessons. I think of our strengths and weaknesses like a personal pantry. Dorothy returned home with a well-stocked personal pantry. She had a better idea of what was inside of her all along, but had not known how to access. She simply needed to have a good friend help her see it. She acquired new knowledge of self-confidence and an appreciation of home and family. She couldn't wait to share what she had learned. While we often do not understand and appreciate what we're stocked with, it's our job to not cruise through on autopilot, but to explore ourselves as we go. Sometimes we will be distressed, disoriented, and reluctant. We will need the help of others along the way to be a mirror and support. I know that as the winds come and your life seems to spin out of control, or the waves get extra choppy, you are often very distressed, disoriented, and reluctant to walk on a new road and new waters too. But as you continue to walk into the unknown with your eyes up to the one who knows the unknown, your allies will show up, your guidance will be given, and you'll discover the emotional and spiritual reward that can only come from being courageous enough to put on the heels and take up the adventure, which makes the experience worthwhile. Believe it or not, it's only during your journey on the water and in the deep that you will discover what you already have inside you. Many times we want to avoid our call to adventure and refuse the call if it persists. However, it's not just a call to adventure, but a call to growth. I don't have a green thumb, but my mother, who does, assures me that the best fertilizer is exactly the stinky stuff we don't want to deal with. Eventually, that stuff does contribute to beautiful growth. Here, I will admit that sometimes the challenge is not that we don't know what we have, but that we're operating with the wrong proportions of what we know we do have. Some heroes in heels are self-analytical and fully aware of their gifts and strengths. Their issue or weakness is not ignorance. It is that their strengths are out of proportion and causing difficulties in how they present themselves and how they are received. Remember, your strengths and weaknesses are like a personal pantry. How you show up in situations is like a recipe. Let me give you an example. I know you have seen both thin and chewy chocolate chip cookies and fluffy chocolate chip cookies. Now, they're the same type of cookie, but they don't show up to the party the same way. But why though? They have all the same ingredients. They were cooked at the same temperature for the same length of time. And they were placed on the same type of baking sheet. You know what's different? I'll tell you. The difference is the proportions of the butter and the flour. Too much or too little of one or the other can totally change the presentation of the cookies and how they are received. It's the same way with you. God stocked your pantry when He designed you before you were born. Some women are self-aware and are confident. An appropriate amount of confidence is good when tempered with humility and can lead the women to accomplish great things in God's name and His kingdom. These women are powerhouses and a joy to watch, to listen to, and interact with. They're highly sought after. However, women who have too much confidence and too little humility come across as arrogant, which makes them seem off-putting and difficult to take seriously and to follow. Those women are avoided no matter how talented they are. It is truly awesome to have good friends who will cover you. Now, I don't mean cover up for you. I mean cover you in support, but also cover you with honest feedback and reflect back to you how you are showing up in the world. You need women in your life who are willing to be honest and tell you when you have lipstick on your teeth or that your outfit is not your best look. This also requires that you're willing to hear this type of reflection of how you're showing up in the world. A sister friend and I shared recently how we appreciated knowing that the other would honestly answer that immortal question. Does this outfit make me look fat? There are few things worse than one friend knowingly let another go into public with an embarrassing look. That same friend will be the one to tell you when your attitude or your characteristic is making you look bad too. While it's important to know what's in you, it's also important to control how much of you let out into the world. How you show up is as important as why you show up. If you show up well to accomplish a good purpose, then all is well. If you show up poorly to accomplish a good purpose, a bad situation could be created or even irreparable damage. Your how is as important as your why. And your why is always connected to your who. Who sent you and who He sent you to. We're not here simply for ourselves or by ourselves. What is in our personal pantry is not only for us. It's for those to whom we are sent. When we show up well, we are also modeling for other women how they too can show up once they inventory their personal pantry. I'm looking forward to being out here on the water with you, so follow the Heels on Water podcast so you know when the next episode leaves the dock, and share the podcast with a woman you care about. Heels on, eyes up. Talk to you next Tuesday.